Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to explain the ending of Raised by Wolves Season 1. Ending in the sense that the last episode aired, but not in that it resolved the story it was telling or answered any lingering questions. It answered a few. More than anything else, the Season 1 finale delivered a cliffhanger to set up the next season. There is a lot we can speculate on based on what we've seen, but alas, no definitive answers. Before we get into the facts about where everything was left at the end, this is your spoiler warning. If you haven't completed Raised by Wolves Season 1 through the finale, then this video won't be for you. Hit the subscribe button, go watch to get caught up, and then come back for the video because you'll probably need it. The finale was titled The Beginning, which makes you think, the beginning of what? Mother and father have already been on Kepler 22b for more than 12 years. Hasn't there already been a beginning? The one thing we did get a definitive ending to was mother's pregnancy, and a birth is certainly a beginning. Before we got to that though, we saw how raising the human children have changed mother and father, making them more human themselves. Mother explains that she was able to commune with her creator in the simulation. Special instructions were downloaded into her system, which made it possible for her to create a new being. We see that father can't accept that mother mated with a different entity, saying that he's reached a point of intolerance with her. Even though this is a really androidy way to say he's jealous, it shows us that their time with the children has seen their humanity rub off on them. In episode 10, we do see her give birth to what could best be described as a flying serpent. It looks alien, and showrunner Aaron Guzikowski confirmed in an interview that it's related to the serpent bones that we've seen on the planet. Those had been extinct as far as we could tell. We only saw the skeletons. He also added that this one in particular may take on some of its mother's attributes, so it may have a few abilities its ancestors did not have. So it's almost like she gave birth to a new species. Something related to the serpents, but something that's evolved based on her being who she is. We know that the technology that makes Mother possible is a mystery to the Mithraics that built her. The best guess is that it originated on Kepler, or at least that it existed on Kepler before it spread to Earth through an encrypted message in Mithraic scriptures. It's a lot, I know, so here's the clues that we have to work with. The Campion comic and the medical droid Carl explain that dark photon energy, or the fifth force of nature, is what powered the necromancers. We've seen the dodecahedron shape in the Mithraic religious artifacts and on the planet. The one that Mother saw in her vision and then found in the cave had what looks like an android inside it. While this might be of alien design, it does have a humanoid look that includes teeth and hair. The voice that Marcus and Paul are hearing on Kepler seems to have reached out to Otho while he was in the sim en route to Kepler, and of course Mother became pregnant when she was in the same sim. This all makes it seem probable that something on Kepler was behind the Mithraics on Earth creating the first necromancers there, and then that led to the Earth being destroyed, which then led to androids coming to Kepler, followed by waves of humans. The ones who are left from the first wave aren't really doing well at the end of the season. The voice convinced Paul that they needed to stay away from the tropical zone, and Sue caught him trying to sabotage the lander. When confronted, he said that Saul told him to do it, which prompted her to tell him that the god wasn't real. Things go downhill from there as the voices tell him the truth about who she is. He confronts her, asks Saul to guide his hand, and then shoots her, and ultimately runs away. Hunter chases after him, but in the end we see he isn't with the others, which leads us to believe he's out there on his own. His father Marcus also spent most of the episode alone. He wasn't dead, which is something that most of us expected, but he did experience something related to having Mother's necromancer eyes shoved in his mouth. He's not full-on changed like Otho was, but his face is transformed some, and he seems to be hallucinating. He spends the episode tripping, basically, walking in the general direction of where he saw the lander flying. He's actually as surprised as we are when he encounters a group of humans, thinking at first that they're another vision. He's able to use one of their guns against them to get the upper hand, and then takes an earpiece from the survivor to contact the ship that brought them there. It turns out that the atheists had an arc too. They were aware that the Mithraic arc crashed, but we don't learn anything else about their mission before it cuts away from Marcus forcing the soldier to pray with him. In the main group, Sue is wounded from being shot in the gut by Paul. She's conscious when we last see her, but it does look like she's in pain. That means Campion is the only warrior that group has left, and it looks like he'll step into that role of protector. Tempest is still pregnant and still very anti-Saul. Holly and Hunter both have had things that reinforce their faith over the last couple episodes, but it's unclear how they'll react to Paul's attack and Mother's disappearance. It's going to probably be a situation where survival will take precedence. They're out there basically on a mountainside, far away from their original camp, and that's probably going to mean that Campion will have to reverse his no-killing stance so they can eat some creature meat, since that's the only thing they've really had as a food source. There were a lot of them in the area when the lander was approaching, and of course we learned some more about them. Mother was attacked by the mysterious hooded figure, and after she killed it, they thought it was connected to the creatures. It was carrying a Neanderthal skull with it, which is a species of human that went extinct on Earth 40,000 years ago. Father tells us that this particular skull is from Kepler, and that makes you wonder if that means that there was human evolution occurring on both planets at the same time, or if someone relocated some early humans from Earth to Kepler before the Neanderthals died out. Either way, this creature looks somewhere in between a human and the creatures that showed up after the Ark crashed. I think it's implied that this is the same one that picked up the tracking devices and lured Mother with the tarot cards. It's probably a descendant of the cloaked figures from her vision, but there isn't much new evidence here. We don't know when whatever was going on in that vision happened, or when all the other figures wearing the cloaks disappeared. Mother and Father seem to think that something has happened to cause them to become more like the creatures they've been eating. It's weird because they use the word devolving, which isn't really a thing. Species adapt and evolve. It doesn't really mean that they progressively get more complex. So I'm not sure what the implication of using that word is. In context, it seems like they're saying that the species is evolving into something less human. At least one that was more human survived until it tried to attack Mother. It seemed to be stalking her and didn't intervene until she was about to give birth. That makes you think it doesn't want this serpent to be born. The cave paintings that Paul saw that he was led to by Mouse, which is they never really gave a good explanation of what's going on with Mouse, which was kind of disappointing. Those cave paintings are probably related to this character, but we're going to have to wait until next season to find out more about Kepler 22b's inhabitants. The other mystery the finale touched on was what was at the bottom of all those holes. Mother decides that the serpent she gave birth to will be a danger to all the other children. It's currently feeding off her blood fuel and is essentially draining her. She thinks when it runs out, it's going to want blood. She plans to destroy it by flying the lander into the pit, and Father steps in, insisting to pilot the thing because he wants to make sure nothing goes wrong. Together, they go off to make this sacrifice. They descend until they reach the core where it looks like they'll be destroyed. They reflect on their time with the children and each other and think out loud the ones they left behind will be all right. They'll help each other and Campion will lead them like he was always destined to do. We watch as they say goodbye, but just as Hunter's arm wasn't burned when Marcus forced it into the hole in the dodecahedron temple, the lander passes through the core and comes out the other side. It doesn't burn up, it's somehow protected, and now the serpent appears to be growing rapidly. On the other side, they enter what looks like the tropical zone. Father comes to, he grabs Mother who's still weak from being fed on, and they bail out. We don't see where they land, but we do see the serpent, which is now huge, destroying the lander in the process of breaking out of it. It then flies away, presumably to wreak havoc on this side of the planet. That means that Mother and Father are pretty much stranded. Without the lander, they won't be able to go back the way that they came. They don't really explain the electromagnetic activity that prevented them from landing there in the first place. It will be interesting to see what Mother and Father find, but we'll have to wait for those answers since the season comes to a close right there. There's a lot to think about, and I guess if you like that kind of situation, you like to theorize about unanswered questions, then you're probably happy. If you're like me, you probably wanted some more answers. I mean, we had this prophecy, we had Ghost Tally, we have a mouse running around, we have this dodecahedron temple, and so much more. I would have liked to have seen them address some of these things. I mean, on the one hand, with such a major cliffhanger, you have to imagine that they at least know where season 2's going. I mean, I know that they said that they have 5 seasons planned out, and that the plan was always that this snake, this flying snake, was going to be the end. But they just brought up so many questions during the season. I would feel more confident, more invested, more interested if they answered some. Paul being alone might set up a situation where he ends up back with Lucius and the other remaining Mithraics. We didn't see them at all in the finale, but they're still out there somewhere. They would believe Paul when he told them about his parents being imposters, and that might make them believe that he's the orphan from the pentagonal prophecy. That could set up 2 different factions, one led by Campion and one led by Paul, which is something that a lot of us thought might happen. But then now we have Marcus out there with this new group of atheists, and it's an arc. I mean, there's probably thousands of new humans there. So that really kind of changes the dynamics of these being the last people on Earth and, you know, some tension between Paul and Campion trying to lead them. Mother thought that her creator, Campion Sturgis, was behind the pregnancy right up until the moment the serpent was born. Based on her memories, we wouldn't think this is what he had in mind when he sent them to repopulate the planet with frozen human embryos. Whatever this force is, used his likeness from her memories in the same way it exposed the truth to Paul from Sue and Marcus's memories. I guess the big question for season 2 is what the voice really is and what is its real motivation. If it's behind the necromancer technology making it to Earth, what else is it responsible for? Was it pulling the strings because it needed new necromancers built, and so that they would make their way back to Kepler, or did it want humans since the ones there were devolving? There's way more questions than answers, and I suppose the theories are for a different video. I am interested in hearing your theories in the comments though. Where do you think things are going in season 2? Do you feel good about where things were left? Do you like the mystery, or does it feel like there's too many unanswered questions and you're worried about it drifting off into chaos? I definitely have some ideas, and if this gets some views and there's a lot of different engagement in the comments, then I'll think about making a theory video after. Take some time and reflect on it and see what else is out there. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to you soon.